Today we will see in this video how to create a realistic bird feather and render it with the required materials. This is the final output of the bird feather we are going to make. Let's divide this bird feather we are going to make into two main parts and see how to get started to make it. Rachis, the middle part of the bird's feather. Barbs, the furry part on either side of the rachis. Here we will first create this rachis part of the bird feather and then create barbs on it using Blender particles settings. Now let's create. This rachis on the feather has a curved shape. So, let's make this with a Blender curve. For this, now clear the viewport and add a Bezier curve. Here we will use the same shape of the added Bezier curve. If you want, you can slightly change the shape of this curve in edit mode. Now let's add a thickness to this curve. Usually, the thickness of the starting edge of a rachis is slightly higher and it gradually decreases to a very small thickness at the end edge. Before adding thickness to this, add a curve path to control the thickness variation. We are now in the top view here. Move this added curve 1 meter along the y-axis and scale it 0.5. Now, this one is equal to the displacement of the curve here. Okay, now let's give the thickness for this Bezier curve. Select the Bezier curve and go to its object data properties. Open the geometry drop-down and set its bevel depth to 0.1. After setting it, now select the curve path we added for the taper object here. Now click on this curve selected for the taper object and switch to its edit mode. Now by moving this curve along the y-axis we can change the depth of our Bezier curve. By selecting only the first 4 verts of this curve and moving it slightly up along the y-axis, we can give the desired bevel depth to this rachis. Okay, after editing, switch from edit mode to object mode, select this rachis and give 256 resolution to it. The reason for giving such a higher value for the resolution here will be explained to you later. For now, set this value, then convert this curve to a mesh. Now we do not need this curve used for depth, so delete that. We have now created the rachis of this feather. Let's start adding barbs to the feather rachis. To do this, first, select the rachis and add a new particle system slot to it. Then, select the hair for the particle type here and give a value of 0.4 meters for the hair length. Usually there are no barbs at the end of a bird's feather rachis. This part is called the calamus. Thus, the barbs are located throughout the rest of the rachis except in the calamus. And these barbs of this feather are located in a stripe-like area on either side of the rachis. Okay, let's set this to the particles settings. You can see how the hair particles are arranged around this rachis. First set these hair particles on either side of the rachis. Let us use vertex groups to do this. So, first, open the object data properties of this rachis and create a new vertex group. Rename it to a name you can easily identify. Then, in the particles settings here, select the vertex group we created for the density and length vertex groups. After that, change this rachis into edit mode. And select the end of the calamus here and zoom into it. Then, using the hotkeys shown here, select the vertices on either side of the rachis. After that, switch to weight paint mode and enable the vertex selection here. Now we can see the selected vertices in the edit mode through the weight paint. Keep this selection as it is and select the set weight option for these verts. Now we have set weight paint for the selected verts, so these hair particles are sets on either side of the rachis. Now let's remove the hair particles near the calamus. To do this, first, increase the radius of the brush and reduce the weight to 0. Then remove the weight paint on either side of the rachis as shown here. After that, let's set the remaining particles settings here to get other details of a feather. These hair particles are not present in all the weight painted verts. So first fix this now. Switch to object mode here and enter a value of 3000 for the number value in the particles settings. Then, in the source drop-down here, select the vertices for the emit from option. Now, this hair particles are based on vertices of this. You know that first there was a faces option set for this emit from source. This option does not depend on vertices. But when you set the vertices option for emit from source, the hair density depends on the number of verts in the object. This is why we set a higher resolution for the rachis here. After that, let us now change these hairs particles and get the shape we want for the feather. For this, first change to particle edit mode. Now arrange these hairs like a feather as shown here. And add additional details like these on it. Here, set the hair's particles in the calamus area slightly outwards. Right now, we have adjusted the shape of the feather. Now let's switch to object mode and set this feather slightly up along the Z-axis. You can see that the hair resolution is very low here. So, let us first set the resolution for this feather. For that, increase the strand steps in the particle settings and give a value of 4 or 5 for this. After setting the resolution here, let us now increase the hair density of this feather. For that, select the simple option for children here. Enter a value of 10 for display and render. Then give a value of 0.002 for the radius here. After that, enter the values shown here for the values under the roughness settings. After giving all the values, we have now finished working on the hair particles of this feather. Now all we have to do is create materials and lighting parts here. We use Cycles engine for this project, so first change the render engine for that. You know that we usually set the lighting before creating the materials. If you've seen our previous videos, you know the reason for this. There must be at least a basic lighting need to properly create and adjust materials. So, let's set the lighting here. first add a plane to the ground here and scale it 3 times. Then, add a camera and position it as shown here. You can even use these values used for the camera here if you want. Okay, now let's add light to this. To do this, first split the viewport as shown here. Let's use this viewport in the top right corner for the render view. So, disable overlays and gizmo here, set the render border for the camera, and turn this viewport to render view. Then adjust the viewport below, and keep it in the camera view. Now let us set up the required lighting using this viewport layout. We use this viewport here to add and adjust lights. This viewport is used to view the exact location details of the added lights through the camera view. This viewport is used to view the preview of the rendering lighting. Now let's add the required lights for this. So, first, add an area light and move it 2 meters along the Z-axis. Set the power here to 50 watts. After that, now set this to the center of the camera view. And duplicate this light and move it to the left down corner of the camera frame. Now rotate the area light so that it faces the center of the feather. To do this, use this line indicating the light distance of the area light and the camera view. After setting that, now duplicate that light again and set it to the right top corner of the camera frame and rotate and adjust it so that it faces the center of the feather. Now let us name these lights as required and set the relevant light data. Rename this light in the center as a top base lamp. For this, we will keep the previously set 50 watts power value as it is. Now rename this light in the left corner as the left side lamp. And change the power value to 100 watts, and for the color value here set light blue using the HSV values shown here. After that, now rename this light as the right side lamp. Change the power value to 100 watts, and for the color value here set light orange using the HSV values shown here. Now create a new collection and add this lighting setup and camera to it. After that, rename it as Light and Cam. Right now, we have set up the lighting setup we want and added a camera for it. Now let's start creating material for this feather. Okay, now first select this feather and change the left side viewport to shader editor. When we create materials here we have to create different materials for the rachis of the feather and the hair particles on it. So, let's add a new material using the shader editor. After that, now add another material slot and add a new material for it. Rename this added material in a way that you can easily identify. I will give short names for these two materials like this. Here we will first edit the material node for the hair particles. So, select material slot 2 first. You can do this also using the properties panel here. Now delete the principled shader here and add a hair BSDF and connect it. Now set this material to the particle hair system. You can see here, Mat 01 is given for render materials in particle settings. We set the hair shader for Mat 02 in material slot 2. So select Mat 02 for this. After setting it, now adjust this material shader as we want. Let us give this feather a gradient of several colors. To do this, first, add the Voronoi texture and connect it to the color of the hair shader. For the values of this shader, enter 2D for the dimension and select Smooth F1 for the feature output. And give 2 for the scale value here. Now add a hue saturation node to this connection and set its saturation value to 1.1. We have now finished making the material for the hair particles. Now let's make the material of the Rachis. So, first, select material slot 1 here. Now enter the HSV values given here for the base color of the principled shader. Then give it 0.2 for metallic value and 0.8 for roughness value. Okay, we have now finished creating the materials for this feather. Before the rendering, here set this ground plane so that it is close to the feather. After that, now set the render settings here. In the render properties, first, enable adaptive sampling here. And give a value close to 256 for render samples here. If you are rendering using a CPU, give 32 for the tile size. If you are using a GPU for rendering, provide the appropriate tile size. Okay, let's render now. After rendering, now close this rendered result. Okay, let's denoise this render result now. For this, first, close these viewports here and open the compositor now. Here enable the use nodes first. Then enable backdrop. And then connect the viewer node for the image out here. Before editing, first set denoise for this. Here add the denoise node on the viewer node connection. Then connect denoising albedo and normal outputs to it. Now, this render output is denoised. Let's do color correction here, after denoising. Add a color correction node between the denoise and viewer nodes. Now you can get the desired image output by adjusting the color as required here. For this rendering, just a slight increase in the master saturation value is sufficient. Now you can switch to the image editor and select the viewer node and save the final render output. I hope you have learned something new from this video. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you want to watch more videos like this, subscribe to our channel, click on the bell icon on the side, and select all. This will allow you to receive notifications for future uploads. If this video helps your Blender work in any way, don't forget to comment on how. If you have any other issues with this video, please comment as well. And if you would like to support us, please share this video with the Blender users you know. Learn with IBN.